So we've driven eastward along the A66. Took about 90 minutes to get to the village of Dufton, because from Dufton you can join the Pennine Way and walk up to the top of High Cup Nick. Now there's probably a load of geographical details I could relate about High Cup Nick, but I've already forgotten them, so I won't be doing that. We have the GPX file on the phone, so we won't get lost, but I think it's pretty easy since it's the Pennine Way route. So it's one of the longer walks, 10 miles, 8 miles from Scarborough to Filey, but that was quite flat. Obviously we're going up to High Cup Nick, so I'm hoping it's a slow elevation, otherwise it will kill me at least. Daisy Dog's on the lead because we've heard there's a lot of sheep, and we're on a road at the minute which has tractors on it, so let's see how we go. Right, now begins. I think the elevation is a total of about half a kilometre, about 500 metres. I think I remember that from the Wikipedia page. So hopefully it's relatively gradual inclines like this one, though it will slowly take its toll on me, but it should be doable. So this currently isn't too bad, though it is very warm, which has the advantage that everything looks gloriously pretty, but very sapping. So we're just keeping on trudging. We're stopping every 10 minutes. I was going to say 20 minutes. It's not even every 20 minutes. Probably every 5 to 10 minutes.
We stop there. We stopped down here.
Yeah, we stopped at the gate down there. We've stopped halfway, and then there's a gate up there we're going to stop at. So we're not getting very far before we stop. I am absolutely knackered. Just goes to show, 8 miles flat, no problem. 4 miles with a continuous elevation, absolute nightmare. I must admit, if Jack wasn't here, I'd have turned around by now. But he's keeping up the enthusiasm. I'm so tired at the minute. I'm even having trouble holding this camera up. But yeah, the scenery is very nice though. So yeah, we will soon set off for segment, I don't know, 506. There's probably going to be quite a few of them by the time we get to the top, but we're hoping it's worth it. So we've come, I think we're pretty much at the top. We've come off the path though, I think we're still on the route, thanks to good old GPX file. So I think we're just going to circle around this hill, up that path, around that hill, and then that there is High Cup Nick. The top of it is probably just behind that hill, and that cliff on is the other side of it. So we think we're still on the right route and are about to get the money shot. Now I'm going to do a circle, because in just this little patch here, it's all a bit Crows from Dunland, it's all a bit Lord of the Rings. So thankfully we haven't got an evil Christopher Lee hunting us down. But it is pretty impressive just in this little delve here. We think High Cup Nick is just over there, but this little section is astounding. Amazing. I assume it's showing up on the camera because I can see it with my eyesight. There's some sort of circular lake on a little hill. Amazing. I'll see if we can walk near that on the way back. Awesome. I still don't think we're at the actual best view, but that is pretty impressive. And the advantage of sunglasses is you can't see me looking at the screen. But yeah, that is pretty impressive. We're going to make a decision on whether we walk around the other side at the top or down into the valley once we get to the peak bit. But that is beautiful. It's always interesting when you're stood on a piece of land that's above flying birds. Excellent. So the end of the valley is through there. So based on us not being at the end of the valley yet and it moving on through that gap, we're actually revising how far we've travelled. Maybe we've only done about 2 miles already, in which case I was getting knackered under a mile. But we're keeping walking because I think this is a valley created by a glacier, if I remember rightly, and it ends, and where it ends is High Cup Nick, and obviously we're not at sort of the peak of the valley yet, or whatever the technical name is for it, so we may only be halfway of the 4 miles it takes to get there, and then of course you have to come back again. So we're keeping on trucking. There we go, Daisy Dog is also enjoying the view. And your Daisy Dog. Yeah. I'm thinking we have to do a bit more climbing up to get to the top of there. It may be possible to go around the edge at the lower level, but if so it'll be a bit Last of the Mohicans cliff face, which I don't think we're up to. So we're going to climb up to the flat top. If there is a small walkway along the edge on the lower level, we're not going to risk it. So anyway, more elevations, but we'll get there. I'm going to have to be careful because it's a rocky path again. But I think we suffered for that flat bit we were on earlier on. I think that was slightly off route, but it did allow us to recoup our strength, which was good because as a result of being off route we basically had to scramble up the side of the valley, which was quite tiring, so we've had a bit of a rest. But now we're back on the path, which is going to take us around to the end of the valley, and then we're going to see how steep it is. It looks quite steep, but I think one of the routes is to go down into the valley, as I said, so it should be doable. But basically the route down into the valley is there. So we're on a little bridge, a little stone slab over a little stream, I guess I'd call it, that runs all the way down into the valley. It is so impressive up here. I feel like we should be being chased by goblins along this track. It's excellent, you know, with some awesome panning music, good panning shot as we make our way to somewhere we need to be for our fantasy quest. But absolutely amazing. I'm going to do another circle, and I'm wrapping Daisy around in my legs, so I'm hoping she's not going to trip me up. And then we have the bridge, which I don't know whether it's in because of the shadow of the sun, but absolutely brilliant up here. Worth it. I think in truth you could class the walk as just being that bit beyond us, but we have made it. We're just circling round to the top of the valley now. Whew. So we're next to another river. We thought, well, stream. We thought the first stream was impressive. This one's more impressive. You literally can sort of see it dropping off the edge. I think I've got it in shot there. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, it may have been particularly punishing, but even if we get a better view at the peak of the valley, it was worth it just for this stream. Absolutely amazing. Wow. So we've made it to the top. We've just had a rest. We've been doing our Twitter, Facebook, video, still photo sort of duties, and we've been debating whether we go, as I say, along the other edge or down into the valley. We think we're going to try and go down into the valley. Must admit, it's been quite a trek. I think to some extent I've come to the conclusion I'm still a 4 to 5 mile person round trip, especially if it involves elevations rather than a 8 to 10 mile round trip, but it's been well and truly worth it. It's getting a bit chillier here, so we're going to put our tops back on, collect our stuff, and I think we're going to try and descend into the valley. If we break our legs, I'm sure you'll hear about it, but it's been well worth the trip up. Absolutely amazing. We've made it to the bottom. If I'm shaking, that's because I've lost complete faith in my legs and ankles. That was crazy. I want to try and get it in. Ready? We basically walked down that mass of stones, gravel, slate, whatever it is. I think there is a path that was better, but it was still pretty precarious. I think we were pretty stupid, but we did make it. But there was every chance it could have went the other way. Probably spent more time worrying about Daisy Dog than I should have done. But we are now down in the valley. And you know what? It looked pretty impressive from the top. I'm not sure if actually it has a certain grandeur. And again, I'm wrapping Daisy Dog in my lead from the bottom. Absolutely amazing. So we're going to follow the river. I think you can see it, which I think brings us to a farm. And then from there is a path back to our car at Dufton. Well, that's what the PDFs told me back home, so I'm hoping that's true and we don't end up with no route back to the car. But yeah, precarious but well worth it. So we think that's the waterfall we were filming. So there's one just there, that's the one I've just taken a bit of footage of, and then there's the first one we found just approaching it on the right. So yeah, as you would predict, they make their way all the way down into the base of the valley and contribute to the stream that runs at the bottom, which we were going to follow quite closely, but it seems like there's a sensible sort of path a bit distant from it. So the only problem we're having in the base of the valley, of course, is a bit damper, but not to the point that we can't continue walking. But yeah, I'm still debating whether it's more impressive from the top or the bottom. It's very nice. I think this is the first stream that we filmed at the top, coming down into the stream at the bottom. cows. Third major life form of the trip, other than us. We've had sheep. We had horses, strangely enough, which I didn't capture on film, but right at the top of High Top Nick, near the actual end of the valley. Horses. Very strange. Now we have cows. Now this is going to be interesting because they have a habit of just not moving. And it becomes a standoff. See? OK corral with the cows. Let's see how this goes. The cows won. Primarily because in amongst those cows was a male one with horns. Now don't get me wrong, he wasn't doing anything aggressive, but neither was he moving. So we decided we would give way to the bovine with horns. I wasn't going to face off against that in case he made a charge. Yeah, quite intimidating being surrounded by bovines. They're quite large. But the one with horns just tipped us over the balance and we chose to give way. Come on, Daisy. Daisy's gained a second wind. She does that. So now she's full steam while we're sort of in a bit of a lull, realising we have probably 3 miles still to go to get back. Yeah, that was an intimidating bunch of cows with one bull. Pretty sure of that. I think we're on the final stretch. Coming through this valley, not sure it was a good idea. They neglected to tell us on the PDF that there was no real trampled path, so it's been hard going. I prefer it to elevations, but it's still been hard going. So we're coming to the end of the valley, where hopefully the miraculous route to Dufton does appear. But looks like we do have to go up that hill, which isn't very big, but at this point feels like a mountain. The advantage is we will get to see the pond we were marvelling over from the actual top. But at this point my enthusiasm for seeing the pond has severely waned, so we're going to climb the hill, see the pond, and hopefully a route back to Dufton will present itself. But other than that, walking through the valley has been quite picturesque. It's just been a bit ruined by the hard slog through the semi-marshy like land, which has really saps the legs. But yeah, I am allergic to retreading the same route back as I took to get somewhere, so that's sometimes the risk. That's right, civilization. It's not Dufton though, but it's the farm that was on the PDF that is the first step to finding an actual path that takes us back to Dufton. Do not underestimate how close I am to just collapsing at this point. Shit. Yeah, it's been a bit too far under too much arduous terrain, but we have done it. Oh, my shoulder is killing, you have no idea. Anyway, it is quite pretty. You have no idea what miracle this site is. Something as simple as a path. And I'm going to watch what I'm doing, because this is a road. There has already been one car on it. But, final stretch. Following this road for 2 miles. Must admit, the fact we had 2 miles left was a bit of a shocker. But, yeah. Slightly dehydrated, you can never bring enough water, right? Feel like I need something to eat, but probably couldn't eat anything immediately. But we have done it. We are now just going to traipse out these 2 miles on what will hopefully be a downhill 2 miles on a nicely paved road. So we survived.